Hey guys, buenas noches. We started out tonight's class with some pronunciation practice. So these are our letters and sounds for the day. The first one is the double L, which in Spanish is always going to be that y sound, like we've already seen in our example, the word cebolla from our first day vocabulary. So if you want to practice saying these at home, we've got silla, amarilla, villa, cebolla, llamar, pollo, calle, and cigarrillo. Our second letter is the ñ, and it makes kind of a ñ sound, like in the word canyon in English. We've got piña, cariño, jalapeño, año, niño, español, cabaña, and baño. All right. The next letter is the single R. So this one you don't need to roll. It is much softer than the R in English, which is much more harsh. It's almost like a D sound rather than an R sound. So it's somewhere, maybe kind of somewhere in between that D and R. So here we've got entero, barata, cuchara, restaurante. That one's got kind of a hard cluster of vowels in it. So one more time, restaurante. Rico. I said that one a little harsh on the R, just going back and forth between English and Spanish. Rico. Reír. Ropa. And regalo. All right, now comes the dreaded double R. This is probably the hardest thing for new Spanish learners to learn how to do. My little PSA about it is just really try every single time that you encounter the double R to roll it. Even if you're not able to yet, you will get there as long as you keep practicing. So, and it's easier to practice in isolation than it is within the word. So try kind of just practicing that on your own as well. Your tongue should be kind of vibrating against the roof of your mouth. So just try in one fluid movement. Arr, arr, arr. And then every time you encounter a word, really just make the effort to roll that R. So we'll practice this one in class more than any other letter. So just prepare to not take yourself too seriously and have a good time with it. And I promise it will continue to advance in our class today, even from just the beginning of practicing this to the end. I already heard a huge improvement in the students that were there practicing in class. So hopefully that's encouraging for you practicing at home. All right, we've got terrible. I'll pause so you can practice them too a little bit longer this time. Burro. Gorro. And I'm doing it a little bit more exaggerated than you would necessarily just speaking in a conversation, but it's just so you can really hear it and just so you can practice it, and then you can kind of scale that back a little bit as you go once you become more comfortable with the rolled R. Jarra. Correr. Churro. Parrilla. And arriba. All right, and our last one is the Z sound. This is pretty easy. We don't have the vibrating Z sound in Spanish, so it's just a S, like an S. So we have abrazar, zapato, maíz, utilizar, calabaza, empezar, pedazo, and gozar. And that is all of our letters for the day. These are our sentences if you want to give those a little bit of practice as well. We've got me gustan las cebollas, las piñas, y los churros. Make sure you're stopping to roll that R on churros. All right, next one is, oh, sorry, I'll give you a second with that one. All right, next one is la araña tiene zapatos amarillos. This is a really good one to just practice softness in your voice, just really relaxing the jaw and making all the sounds really soft. So make sure you're saying zapatos, not zapatos, right? No, none of the z sound in English. Give me a second to practice that one. All right, and the last one is, puedo comer un pollo entero. Puedo comer un pollo entero. And that is it in terms of our pronunciation practice. When we got into grammar, we went over the activity from yesterday with possession, the translation activity, and talked about whether or not you and your partner or partners noticed anything strange in the translation. So in English, we have it's or it is my onion, and in Spanish, es mi cebolla. This is page 4 of your packet. Same at the bottom there, where in English we have there or they are my onions. And in Spanish, son mis cebollas. So even though we have 2 words in English, we only have 1 in Spanish. We talked a little bit about why this is. In Spanish, you don't have to have that subject pronoun. It is optional. So in this case, we've just omitted it completely. We're just saying, is my onion, es mi cebolla, or son mis cebollas. And what enables us to do that is the fact that in Spanish, every verb changes depending on who is doing the action. So in this case, they're objects, right? Because it's just the verb to be. But anytime if I say I run or you run, the form of the verb is going to be different. So I don't have to say the I part. I can just say run in the I form because it's implied and it's right there built into the verb. So that is something that's a big difference between Spanish and English. Even the fact that every verb has different forms depending on who's doing it is a big difference, and something that we're going to be looking at a lot over the next few days, and actually for the rest of the course is kind of those conjugations of different verbs. So we did a little more practice with possessives, but we also jumped into that verb ser, which is where we get es and son, which we looked at yesterday. The verb ser means to be, and there are actually 2 verbs in Spanish that mean to be in English, ser and estar. On page 7 of your packet, we also did a little introduction activity where it says soy Alicia. In my case, there's a space for your name. Y soy una persona. I put paciente, tranquila, positiva, fuerte y torpe. And those are some adjectives, some words that describe me. And if you want to fill that out for yourself, there's a little cheat sheet word bank on the next page, page 8, where you can go through and just find some words that resonate with you about who you are. We use that as a little introduction activity or a better get to know you activity, and to talk just very briefly about adjectives in Spanish. Adjectives generally come after the noun in Spanish, so the opposite of how we do it in English. There are exceptions, which we won't get into for the purposes of this class because it is a little bit more advanced, and you're basically going to have your bases covered just knowing that generally the adjective comes afterwards. We will talk about a few exceptions just sort of in passing, but that's the most important take-home message about adjectives. There is more in-depth information, and in your packet, it tells you where to look for that in the book. It's on pages 9 and 10 of the hard copy if you want to read more, Or if you just want to see a list of a ton of super useful adjectives anytime you are looking for some more words to add to your vocabulary, that's a great place to look for that as well. If you want to fill this out and take a picture of it and put it in the group, we would love to see it. It'd be a good exercise for you too. Also, everyone drew something at the bottom of the page that represents them and talked a little bit about it. This is my coffee cup because I love coffee and a wave because I love to surf. So we did that little activity, and also that was another example of using the verb ser. So on the next page, page 8 of your packet, you'll see a little chart that has ser and estar in it. And we filled that chart out together. I'll go ahead and share the screen again so you can take a look at it. All filled out. If you looked on our Facebook page already, you'll notice that most of our vocabulary words for the day are subject pronouns. So we've got yo, which means I, tú, you, él, he, ella, she, and usted is the formal version of you in Spanish. So that's something that we don't have in English, but is very common in Spanish, that there's a way to formally address people. This might be in a professional situation or just someone who is older than you that you want to show respect to, or in a customer service type situation in a restaurant or at the gas station, they'll probably refer to you in usted form. That's just a way of being extra polite. Nosotros is we. Ellos or ellas is they, depending on if it's male or female. And then ustedes is the plural form of you. So in English, the closest thing we have is like you guys or y'all in some parts of the US. So all of those are on your vocabulary for tonight. You'll also see them on page 14 of your book. If you want to just read through and kind of look at those, jot down on this page in your packet the definitions if you want to, or just as you're making your flashcards for the day, familiarize yourself with those words. And then you want to fill out these charts for ser and estar. The answers are in your book. For estar, they're going to be on page 14, I believe, in the hard copy. Nope, page 15, where it says estar to be. It'll give you all the different forms, and they're up here on your screen as well if you want to cheat. But it could be good just to kind of skim through the book and look at this chapter a little bit. We haven't really advanced beyond just filling out the conjugations, knowing the fact that there are 2 words in Spanish that mean to be, and you use them in different contexts. And we're going to talk more in depth about when to use each one tomorrow. So we encountered several forms of the verb ser yesterday and today. So you'll kind of be able to reference that a little bit as we learn more. We haven't really seen estar too much, although there are some questions in your getting to know your partner questions that use estar, but we will jump into depth in that in the next class. And then for the verb ser, all the different conjugations are on page 19 of your textbook. Or they're also up here on the screen too, if you want to pause here and fill out that chart on page 8 of your text. The chart below where you need to put in the different conjugations is already filled out for you. You don't need to add any information to that. It's just kind of a little cheat sheet to do tomorrow's activity. So these are the different instances when you need to use estar and when you need to use ser as the verb to be. And that pretty much covers our class that you missed. If you want to post your soy with your name and your adjectives in the group, that'd be great. Don't forget to do your flashcards, and we will hopefully see you guys tomorrow. Buenas noches.